Okay, so today we're diving into a case that really hits home for a lot of people. It's the story of Alicia DeBolt. 14 years old, vanished on her way to a party
A party, yeah.
in Great Bend, Kansas.
Oh, wow.
This was back in August of 2010.
Yeah.
And just 3 days later,
Yeah.
her body was found. Obviously, just an absolute tragedy ripped through the community, leaving everybody in shock.
Yeah, a small town like that, you don't expect it. You know?
Exactly. And we've got a ton of articles, research court documents about this case.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're going to really try to unpack not just what happened, but why.
Right. Get into the mind of a predator here.
Exactly. And sadly, it also takes us into the world of digital evidence, which played a really chilling role in this whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's impossible to ignore that these days, right?
So we're going to walk you through all of it, the events, the investigation,
Yeah.
the outcome. Because unfortunately, these kinds of stories are more common than we'd like to think.
Mm-hmm.
But by understanding the patterns, maybe, just maybe, we can help prevent another family from going through this unimaginable pain.
Right. Recognizing the signs early on can make all the difference.
Absolutely. So let's start with Alicia.
Mm.
She was, pretty much your typical teenager, full of life, loved by your family and friends, dreamed of becoming a cheerleader.
And that's what makes it so haunting, right? She wasn't, in trouble. She wasn't out running wild.
Yeah.
Just a normal girl living her life, and then it's stolen. Her story, it could be anyone's story, and that's what makes it so important to understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it was August 21st, a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And Alicia was getting ready for this party. Now, from the records we know, she was texting with a 36-year-old man
Terry's?
named Adam Longoria, and he was saying he'd give her a ride.
See, that's where those alarm bells should be going off right there. Predators, they use these everyday situations to gain access to their victims, offering rides, acting like the cool adult. It's all calculated to build trust.
So you're saying Longoria was intentionally trying to manipulate her?
Absolutely. And what's even more disturbing is this wasn't his first run-in with the law or with young girls.
Wait, so there were already red flags about this guy?
Oh yeah, big time. Longoria had a prior theft conviction. But even worse, a history of inappropriate behavior with underage girls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the details are really unsettling, but it shows a clear pattern of predatory behavior.
So investigators were able to use this information to establish motive and intent.
Exactly. Connect the dots between his past actions and what led up to Alicia's disappearance.
That's terrifying. So did Alicia's family know any of this?
It's unclear if they knew the extent of it, but what we do know is when Alicia didn't come home that night, her family was frantic. They knew right away something was terribly wrong.
So they started searching immediately.
Oh yeah, the whole community rallied around the DeBolt family, desperately hoping for her safe return.
And then came that just awful discovery just 3 days later.
August 24th, Alicia's remains were found at an asphalt plant, partially burned.
My God.
The autopsy showed she'd suffered severe trauma before death, and burning the body was a deliberate attempt to cover up the crime, destroy evidence.
So at this point, all eyes turned to Adam Longoria. But how did investigators actually tie him to the crime?
This is where the investigation gets really interesting. We're talking 2010, the early days of smartphones and social media, and both Alicia and Longoria were active users.
Okay.
Investigators found a bunch of text messages between them in the days leading up to Alicia's disappearance.
So they had a digital trail of their interactions.
Exactly. And those messages were damning. They showed contact and a relationship, but also Longoria's efforts to manipulate and control her. He used flattery, promises, even threats to coerce her into meeting him.
Wow, so this wasn't just casual texting. This was grooming predatory behavior in action.
Exactly. And this digital evidence, it became a key part of building the case against Longoria. Remember those past instances of inappropriate behavior? Well, the digital trail combined with that painted a very disturbing picture of a predator who had targeted and groomed Alicia.
It's incredible to think that these digital breadcrumbs, something we all leave behind these days, could be the key to solving a crime.
Yeah, it's a whole new world of evidence.
It really is. It really is. And this case was one of the first that I can remember where digital forensics played such a big role.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was a game changer.
So how did investigators actually get access to those texts? Wouldn't they need, like, warrants or something?
Absolutely. Law enforcement had to go through the proper legal channels. They probably obtained warrants for both Alicia's and Longoria's phone records. And this is important. Privacy rights still apply even in investigations. It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
Justice versus individual liberties.
Yeah, it's a whole legal debate.
Okay.
And back then, in 2010, I mean, smartphones were still pretty new. I bet not everyone understood the whole implications of all this digital data.
Right. It was a whole new frontier.
Mhm.
And law enforcement was still playing catch up, developing new techniques and protocols. But in Alicia's case, those text messages were a goldmine.
So we have the texts, we have Longoria's past.
Hmm.
Was there anything else that directly tied him to the crime?
They found eyewitnesses who placed Alicia with Longoria that night. And even more importantly, surveillance footage of his vehicle near the location where her body was found.
So is this combination of old-school detective work and cutting-edge digital forensics that really built the case?
Exactly. A perfect example of how both approaches are essential these days.
It's like a high-tech game of Clue, but with really, really serious consequences.
No kidding. And with the evidence piling up, Longoria was arrested, charged with first-degree murder and aggravated kidnapping.
The trial must have been incredibly emotional for Alicia's family.
Oh, I can't even imagine. But they were there every step of the way, determined to see justice done. The prosecution did an amazing job laying out all the evidence. The digital trail, the eyewitnesses, the physical evidence.
Did Longoria's defense team even try to fight it?
They did, of course, it's their job. But the evidence was just overwhelming. He tried to explain away the texts, his presence near the crime scene, his past behavior, but it didn't work.
So what was the verdict?
Guilty on all charges, first-degree murder, and aggravated kidnapping. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Wow. I mean, they can't bring Alicia back,
Huh.
but at least there's some sense of justice.
Right, a sense of closure and accountability.
Still, I can't imagine the pain Alicia's family has gone through and continues to go through.
It's a wound that never truly heals.
And sadly, we know Alicia's case isn't unique.
Unfortunately not. There are so many families out there who have experienced similar losses because of predators.
You said earlier that knowledge is power. So what can we learn from this case? How can we protect ourselves and our loved ones?
It all starts with awareness, especially in this digital age. We need to be talking to young people about online safety, about the warning signs of predators. It's about empowering them, not scaring them.
So practical tips, like setting boundaries online, talking about sharing personal information,
Yeah.
and encouraging them to speak up if something feels off.
Exactly. And it's not just about what kids do online. It's about being aware of the adults in their lives, too. Who are they talking to online? Who are they meeting up with? These conversations can be uncomfortable, but we can't avoid them.
And if you see something that just doesn't seem right, say something. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Right, that community vigilance is so important. We can't just rely on law enforcement. It takes all of us working together to create a truly safe environment.
And Alicia's case really highlighted that. The community came together not just to mourn, but to demand justice and push for change.
It was a powerful statement.
It really was.
Yeah.
It really was. And it makes you think about the ripple effects. You know, Alicia's family, her friends, the whole community, they were all forever changed by this.
Yeah, it's like the shockwave that just keeps going, leaving scars that never really heal.
The fear, the distrust. You start to question everything you thought you knew about safety.
You look at your own life, your own family, and wonder, could it happen to us?
Exactly. And it's easy to get caught up in that fear.
Right, but we can't let it paralyze us. We can't live in a constant state of anxiety.
So what can we do? We've talked about online safety, but what about the offline world? How do we protect our kid from predators in our own communities?
Well, it starts with awareness, paying attention.
Yeah.
Who are our kids interacting with? Who are they spending time with? It's not about being suspicious of everyone, but being observant and involved.
So knowing where your kids are going, who they're with, making sure there's always a trusted adult present.
Yeah, exactly. Those are all important steps.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. Talk to your kids about their friends, their activities. Make sure they feel comfortable coming to you if something's off.
That open communication is crucial.
And if you see something that seems strange or out of place, don't hesitate to say something.
Right. You never know. It could be nothing, but it could be something important. Better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly. It's that community vigilance that can really make a difference. We can't expect law enforcement to catch every predator.
It takes a village, as they say.
And that's what was so powerful about Alicia's case. The community didn't just mourn. They took action.
They demanded justice and pushed for change.
And that's a message we can all learn from.
Absolutely, even in the face of tragedy. There's strength and unity in standing together against evil.
We may not be able to prevent every tragedy, but we can certainly make it harder for predators. And we can support the victims and their families.
That's what it's all about.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this case, I want to leave our listeners with a sense of hope. There's a lot of darkness in the world, but there's also a lot of good. And that good can win out. if we choose to be active, informed, and stand together.
We owe it to Alicia, to her family, and to all the victims to create a world where young people can grow up safe, free from the threat of predators.
A world where these stories become a distant memory.
Exactly.
That's a powerful thought. And I think we can get there if we all do our part. So to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It was heavy, it was emotional, but it's a call to action. Let's honor Alicia's memory by working together to make the world a safer place for everyone.
If you enjoyed this video and want to dive deeper into more cases like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like the video if you found the story compelling, and share it with your friends and family who might be interested in true crime and mysteries. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with all our latest content and join a growing community of curious minds exploring the most fascinating cases. Click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything.